Good morning.
Good morning. David
Thank
Sellars.
you. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice being met.
I've seen this much of your face.
Hi, David. Nice seeing you again.
Okay. It's time, so I think we can get started. All right. Thank you, David, first of all, for applying. We really do appreciate your willingness to jump into this, so thank you. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes, or up to 45 minutes, let me put it that way, until 11:30. We've got Holly that's kind of keeping up with the time. So for the first 5 minutes, we'll ask you to speak, and Connie and I will go back and forth asking you questions, which I know you've seen. At the end, we may ask a follow-up question based on your supplemental questions that answers to the supplemental questions that you provided earlier, or based on your verbal testimony that you give today. And then we each have, you have one follow-up question, supplemental question that she's asking to every single candidate, and I have two. So anyway, we'll get started.
So, welcome again. First of all, what we'd like to do is hear from you in 5 minutes or less the message that you would have out on the campaign trail.
Yeah, I'm not campaigning right now, but I've been thinking about the port, and I was thinking about 1922 and the vision that the voters and the citizens had back in 1922. And as a consequence, 1922 was a notable year in many regards. Insulin was used for the first time to cure diabetes. The U.S. Geological Survey said the U.S. oil supply would be depleted in 20 years. And the U.S. Navy launched its first aircraft carrier, the USS Langley. And the sharpshooter, Annie Oakley, set a woman's record by breaking 100 clay pigeons in a row. And I might add, she did that not with a shotgun, but with a .22 long rifle. That's pretty impressive. Not to be outdone, in the midterm elections that year, the citizens of Clallam County voted into existence the municipal corporation known as the Port of Port Angeles. From that momentous day to this, a succession of commissioners has anchored the Port District as a vital economic force in the life of Clallam County, validating the vision of the Clallam County citizenry of nearly 100 years ago. As the Port's next commissioner, I will work in concert with the other commissioners to continue moving forward the good work of the Port for the benefit of all citizens of Clallam County. The economic impact of the Port cannot be understated.
Okay, thank you. So the first question we have then is, what port lines of business do you best understand, and which ones are new to you?
Well, this may come as a surprise to you, but port lines of business that I think I best understand are centered around the marine terminal and the log yards, which would be in the Port Angeles Boat Haven and the John Wynne Marina. I understand the concepts of Terminal 1 and 2 and the Coho Terminal and the Boat Havens. That's pretty much my bailiwick. My dear old dad was still around. He'd say, "Son, you just can't get away from the water, can you?" No. And the airport facility, the concept of the airport is not foreign. I, at one time, flew fixed wing, but I don't know anything about managing an airport or how how any of that would work. Certainly not to say that my fertile mind wouldn't pick it up.
Tell us about the opportunities and challenges that you see for two of the port's lines of business.
Well, I'm particularly interested in developing seeing the Marine Trades Industrial Park develop. And I would like to see that develop to where there was where it had almost, I don't know what's going on there, and I don't know what's going in there. I have heard, which is dangerous, I have heard that on occasion that there have been one or more prospective tenants that have wanted to go in there and rent the whole thing themselves. That's to say, have one tenant go in and occupy that property. I would like to almost see it condominiumized in the sense that there were a multiplicity of tenants on that property with a diverse set of skills that supported the marine trades. There are, as we know, I'm sure, there are a lot of mariners that are coming to Port Angeles from Alaska and California, from as far away as California, both commercial craft and governmental, to Port Angeles to use our facilities. I've spoken with a lot of commercial fishermen that come here to use the boat haven in the PA boat yard because they're being kicked out of California. The boatyards are, and they're being regulated out of business. And this is the closest that they can find a boatyard where they can actually work on their own vessels. And I just see that facility being developed where we had a lot of tradespeople that could work out of there, similar in fashion, not in an attempt to duplicate, but similar in fashion to what might be going on in Port Townsend. Because down in Port Townsend you can get just about anything done. The thing about Port Townsend is their emphasis tends to be older wooden craft. They like to specialize in that. And we have good craftsmen here. And if we had, I think if we had additional support personnel, that we would have even more trade, even more of these vessels seeking out Port Angeles. I can just see it as being a thriving opportunity.
So number 4, do you see a current weakness in the way the port operates? And if so, what would you do to change it?
In all candor, I don't, but I bet I can find one. But not for the moment.
What do you consider to be the most challenging aspect when dealing with the public?
They're bringing to a forum their perception of what facts are, their opinions, and attempting to convert them to facts and arguing them. I get that a fair amount. I think the best example is when I write about the log ships, or when I've written about the log ships, the exports, I get an awful lot of folk that argue with me that why are we exporting our manufacturing jobs? And of course, the logs that we're exporting to China are not for manufacturing. Those logs are used in construction. And the logs that are being exported to Korea are used for packing crates, for packaging industrial equipment to get shipped back, or that's used in shipping. And there's, the only way you can, the way I deal with it, with these people is I have written up a couple of pages. When they send me an email with that, I send that off to them. You sort of have to re-educate them. About the only thing I've ever figured I could do. Because you can't really argue with them. At least I can't.
What do you see as customer service policies and goals for our stakeholders and our tenants?
Well, that's an interesting question that I'm going to struggle with. I think the goal for customer service is to stakeholders and tenants should have a reasonable expectation that a complaint or concern will be attended to. Typically, I should think something like that would be handled by a member of the staff. And I presume that when a contract is signed with a tenant, for example, that there is a go-to person that is delineated. If you got a problem, here's who you would contact. If the pipe breaks, the door doesn't work right, if the carpet's not tacked down properly, if the window doesn't open, But I don't really, in all candor, didn't really understand the question.
Okay, what policy and procedure topics would you be most interested in exploring if you were appointed?
You'd say that anything would pique my interest beyond the notion that there was any perception that there was some hole in your customer service policy that was lacking. I'd be interested in looking into it, making recommendations and plugging that hole. But beyond that, I can't say that there's much that I would, beyond the fact that I can't identify any areas of public policy or concern, can't really say that I would have any interest in.
What is your experience in finance and understanding of financial documents?
Well, pretty much my entire employment history has always had some financial component to it. Small business, the businesses that I have owned, I've maintained all the books for them. I once owned a propane distributorship with about 400 customers on the Monterey Peninsula. I took care of the books, made them ready for our accountant. And I owned a nightclub and a dinner house in Big Bear, California that sat 300 people. And that was a young person's job, I'll tell you. Live entertainment 7 nights a week. That made me old in a hurry. And I did all the bookkeeping for that as well. So it's, and then for the last bunch of years before I came to Port Angeles, I was in the management stream at the Credit Bureau Monterey and worked with clients assessing their needs. And I have a well-rounded background in peeking in books.
Okay, thank you. Do you have enough time available for port meetings and other community obligations?
In a word, yes.
Number 10, how should the Port Commission interface with other public agencies and organizations?
I should think that attending each other's meetings and functions, especially when dealing with overlapping issues, there should be some partnership there.
Okay. Thinking back to past life experiences when you made an important decision, tell us about a decision that you made that you later regretted, and what did you learn from that experience?
Just don't have time to go into all of them.
Glad I don't have to answer.
I know how I would answer it.
Well, good. Well, I'll tell you. I relocated an out-of-work family member and his family to my community in order to provide him employment in my business. And it didn't work out. And what I learned was that there is truth to the age-old adage that family and business do not mix.
So, number 12. What do you wish to accomplish during this appointed term as a Port Commissioner?
Okay, understanding that it's the appointed term that we're talking about, okay? To become versed in the ways of the port and learn as much as I can about the port's business model and how it functions and how I can best be of service to the port as a commissioner and thus serve the community at large.
I don't have any follow-up questions.
Yes. I don't either.
Okay. However, this is the question that I'm asking all candidates. Historically, the log business has been the port's bread and butter for its operating revenue. What do you see as the future for this line of business and for timber products?
Well, I guess until we run out of timber, but I gotta think it's finite. You know, like, I would think there must be other ways to develop our port, other lines of business. Oh, I can't imagine I'm the first person that ever thought of that. Other business lines haven't been looked at. But we have an awful lot of land at the port. And an awful lot of big ships that go by. And I just gotta think that there's gotta be something out there for us that doesn't have anything to do with timber. I just don't, it's just the timber went for a long time and then what, it stopped in the 60s, late 60s, and didn't start up again until just a few years ago. I just don't know that how long we can keep depending upon the timber industry as a valuable source of revenue.
Would that then include some timber products?
Well, it would be nice if we could get some value added going, you know, I mean, but I just don't have a firm answer for you yet, lady.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions. One is, and actually this follow-up question is kind of a two-part question. So,
But you only get one.
nope. Please share your experience in evaluating risk in a contract. So that's about evaluating risk and your experience. What's your philosophy in evaluating risk versus new opportunity and our mission to grow our economy?
Well, when I look at risk, I like to look at the experience of the entity in the line of business that they are proposing. If it's a new line of business to them, what is their experience in previous lines of business? And how deep are their pockets? And how much security are they willing to ante?
Okay. My second question is, at this point, at this time, can you verbally commit to us that you would run again in 2017? Yes. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That was it. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Enlighten me. I liked your beginning, 1922.
It was a good year.
Yeah.
I was so young.
I don't know. Yeah, well, great. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning.
Morning, David Sellars.
It's nice to meet you.
It's nice being met.
I've seen this much of your face
Hi,
before.
Hi, honey, nice seeing you.
Okay. It's about time, so I think we can get started. All right. Thank thank you, David, first of all, for applying. We really do appreciate your...
Municipal corporation known as the Port of Port Angeles. From that momentous day to this, a succession of commissioners has anchored the Port District as a vital economic force in the life of Clallam County, validating the vision of the Clallam County citizenry of nearly 100 years ago. As the Port's next commissioner, I will work in concert with the other commissioners to continue moving forward the good work of the Port for the benefit of all citizens of Clallam County. The economic impact of the Port cannot be understated.
Okay. Willingness to jump into this, so thank you. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes, or up to 45 minutes, let me put it that way, until 11:30. We've got Holly that's kind of keeping up with the time. So for the first 5 minutes, we'll ask you to speak, and Connie and I will go back and forth asking you questions, which I know you've seen. At the end, we may ask a follow-up question based on your supplemental questions answers to the supplemental questions that you provided earlier, or based on your verbal testimony that you give today. And then we each have, you have one follow-up question, supplemental question that she's asking to every single candidate, and I have two. So anyway, we'll get started.
So, welcome again. First of all, what we'd like to do is hear from you in 5 minutes or less the message that you would have out on the campaign trail.
Yeah, I'm not campaigning right now, but I've been thinking about the Port, and I was thinking about 1922 and the vision that the voters and the citizens had back in 1922. And as a consequence, 1922 was a notable year in many regards. Insulin was used for the first time to cure diabetes. The U.S. Geological Survey said the U.S. oil supply would be depleted in 20 years. And the U.S. Navy launched its first aircraft carrier, the USS Langley. And the sharpshooter, Annie Oakley, set a woman's record by breaking 100 clay pigeons in a row. And I might add, she did that not with a shotgun, but with a .22 long rifle. That's pretty impressive. Not to be outdone, in the midterm elections that year, the citizens of Clallam County voted into existence the municipal